Let's step into something different today. Instead of constantly asking, when will my moment arrive? Or why is everything taking so long? Let's shift the focus. What if the real question isn't when, but what? What if the purpose of this waiting season is not to punish you, but to prepare you? What if the challenge is not about chasing outcomes, but about learning to stay rooted, centered, and aligned when everything around you feels unmoving? That's the real test most people avoid. The ability to hold your ground when nothing in your environment validates you. In this video, I want to challenge the way you see delays, stagnation, and pauses in your journey. And by the end, my promise is simple. You'll no longer see waiting as a sign you're behind. You'll see it for what it truly is. Divine recalibration. A system resetting itself to move you forward right on schedule. Not late, not early, but in perfect alignment. So let's talk about why the waiting season feels so unbearably heavy. People often call it being stuck. They describe it as doors refusing to open, opportunities drying up, energy levels dropping, and motivation fading. It's that hollow space where nothing external seems to shift. But what if that stillness isn't proof of failure at all? What if what you're calling stuck is simply life recalibrating behind the scenes, quietly removing old patterns, outdated attachments, and fragile foundations that cannot survive in the next version of you? Think of it this way. The pause is not a brick wall. It's a reset button. It's the system slowing you down so that your foundation, your mindset, your emotional wiring, your resilience can catch up with the size of the vision you're asking for. Nobody likes that pause because it feels powerless. But ironically, it's during those silent seasons that the deepest power is rebuilt. See, progress usually announces itself loudly. A new career milestone, a relationship blooming, a sudden achievement. But the most crucial progress is often silent, invisible. It happens beneath the surface where no one is applauding. It's the rewiring of your perspective, the quiet training of your patience, the strengthening of your spirit. That's why waiting feels so exhausting, because you're expending massive energy not to sprint forward, but to hold still long enough for your old operating system to dissolve. And since the outside world can't see this inner transformation, you start to think nothing is happening, when in reality, everything is happening. Think about someone who poured months of effort into landing what they believed was the perfect job. They passed every interview round, visualized themselves at that desk, already celebrated the offer in their mind. And then, silence, rejection. A dream evaporated in seconds. Friends tried to console them with the tired phrase, "Maybe it just wasn't meant for you." But that didn't soothe the wound because it felt like their worth was denied. Fast forward a year. That same person is thriving in a different role, leading projects that perfectly align with their skills, surrounded by balance instead of burnout. Suddenly, the previous rejection made sense. It wasn't proof of inadequacy. It was proof of redirection. The system didn't deny them. It was recalibrating until the conditions, the timing, and their inner foundation were stable enough to sustain the new opportunity. The same cycle unfolds in relationships. You meet someone who seems to check every box, who feels like the answer to all you're waiting, and then the connection crumbles. At first, it feels like a cruel loss of potential, but the deeper truth, you didn't lose love, you lost misalignment. Sometimes life will strip away what keeps reopening your wounds so you can finally heal. That painful pause between almost and finally is where emotional strength is born. That space teaches you how to regulate your emotions instead of being ruled by them. It trains you to lean into self-trust, to hear your own voice when the silence stretches longer than your patience. These are upgrades the outside world can't quantify, yet they are the exact ingredients required for alignment. It's like system engineering. Every system has inputs, processes, and outputs. The waiting season is the input stage, the moment when data is being cleaned, bugs are being fixed, and faulty wiring is being replaced. Most people despise this stage because it's repetitive, reflective, and painfully unglamorous. But without it, the process can't produce clean outcomes. Think of your life like a computer hard drive. If you overload it and try to run new software, it crashes. You can't force progress until you've cleared the unnecessary files. Waiting is your inner defragmentation, the slow, steady clearing of space so you can operate at a higher capacity. And here's what's important. Divine timing is not a cosmic tease. It's not the universe dangling opportunities just out of reach to frustrate you. It's simply about sequence. Certain doors can't open until the version of you capable of walking through them is fully installed. That means delays aren't punishments. They are protection. Every no, every silence, every moment of postponement is information. It's feedback that alignment is still sinking. Losing what you thought you wanted often proves you're on track, because true alignment always deletes what doesn't belong. That deletion feels like chaos right before it becomes clarity. The universe will not let something remain in your life if it would sabotage your future stability. That's how precise divine alignment is. The rejection that broke you might have been the strongest evidence that your inner algorithm finally started filtering out what no longer matches your frequency. So the waiting is not wasted time. It's incubation. A seed cannot sprout in noise or chaos. It requires stillness, soil, and darkness. That in-between stage you're living through right now isn't emptiness. It's construction. Quiet construction. The system is coding new conditions around you. It's preparing the right support, aligning the right people, and shaping circumstances so that when the signal clears, everything connects effortlessly. But here's the catch. We often disrupt this process. The moment we start comparing our pace to someone else's, we jam the frequency. We introduce static that blocks the signal that was already en route to us. And that's the next layer of this truth, how comparison becomes interference. Notice how the instant you compare your journey to someone else's, your motivation drains. That's not coincidence. It's signal distortion. Comparison inserts false data into your system. What used to feel clear now feels scrambled. Suddenly, you're not walking your rhythm anymore. You're trying to dance to someone else's beat. It starts small. A scroll through social media, a glance at someone else's success, a thought like, they're my age, why am I not there yet? And before you know it, you're not building your path. You're competing in a race you never signed up for. That's how misalignment creeps in. Comparison is sneaky because it disguises itself as motivation. It whispers, if they can do it, you can too. But underneath, it lures you away from authenticity and into performance. You stop creating from intention and start producing for validation. That's not progress. It's distortion. Think about the nights you've scrolled online after a long day. At first, you feel inspired by someone else's wins, but soon your chest tightens. You start calculating timelines. They started after me. They're younger than me. Why am I not there yet? That spiral doesn't reveal truth. It reveals interference. You're not actually craving their life. You're just afraid of falling behind in a race that doesn't exist. It's like tuning a radio station while static keeps interrupting. No matter how much you twist the dial, the signal won't come through clearly. That static is comparison, drowning out your own frequency. While you're busy decoding their sound, you're silencing your own. Psychology backs this up. Social comparison theory shows how measuring your progress against others floods the brain with conflicting data. It lowers clarity, damages self-esteem, and overloads your internal system. The more you focus on their timeline, the more corrupted your own data becomes. The wrong inputs always generate the wrong outputs. But here's the hope. Systems are self-correcting once interference stops. The moment you step back from comparison, your system begins recalibrating. Focus shifts inward. Energy starts to flow back into your own frequency. Creativity breathes again. Intuition gets louder. You begin noticing subtle confirmations. A message at just the right time. A stranger showing up with unexpected support. An opportunity appearing quietly. Flow returns. Not because you forced it, but because the signal finally cleared. And once your signal clears, alignment begins to lock in. That's the trigger moment when the universe responds. What if divine timing isn't about some magical date circled on a cosmic calendar? What if the universe isn't waiting for conditions to be perfect? It's simply waiting for your signal to stabilize. The moment your inner alignment clicks, the system doesn't delay. It moves. You can feel when it happens. Pressure eases. You stop grasping. You stop demanding outcomes. You soften into trust. Ironically, right before that shift, pressure often feels unbearable. That's why so many people give up moments before breakthrough. They confuse silence with absence, when in reality, silence is the system sinking. Think of it like breathing. You cannot inhale while you're still exhaling. The system has to pause before the expansion comes. That pause feels like emptiness, but it's the exact preparation for what's next. Here's the beautiful truth. Once alignment is steady, doors don't just open one by one, they open in clusters. Have you noticed that? Opportunities arrive back to back, not because you pushed harder, but because the system reorganized itself around your new frequency. Take a creator who obsessed over numbers. They posted constantly, checked analytics every hour, drained themselves into burnout. Finally, they walked away. Not a fake break, but a real reset. They started creating quietly again, not for metrics, but for joy. Within weeks, a simple clip they posted without pressure suddenly went viral. Not because they forced it, but because their signal had shifted from control to trust. That's how systems work. Input, process, output. When the input changes from desperation to clarity, the output reorganizes naturally. Divine timing is often painted as mystical, but really, it's mechanical. When readiness meets stillness, patterns align automatically. Think of a seed in soil. If temperature, light, and pressure balance, growth doesn't need to be forced. It just happens. That's divine timing. Not as a reward, but as a reaction to the right conditions. Most people mislabel this shift as luck or miracle. They think blessings finally arrived. But if you trace it back, the shift began the moment they stopped performing and surrendered to authenticity. The second they stopped chasing alignment and started embodying it, everything snapped into place. Alignment forces reorganization. The external world literally has no choice but to reflect your new calibration. Once it starts, it cascades like dominoes. Relationships, opportunities, timing, all syncing in sequence. You might call it manifestation. I call it synchronization. The system is simply updating its output to match your frequency. And once you understand this, you stop obsessing over timing. You realize the waiting wasn't punishment at all. It was preparation. Every delay, every closed door, every stretch of silence was sinking you closer to ease, not pushing you further from it. So, if this message found you, it's not random. It's your proof that the signal has already begun to clear. The shift is underway. Now the only step left is trust. Not surface level trust, but deep, embodied trust. The kind that believes in your own rhythm more than the ticking of the world's clock. Because alignment never rushes, and it never arrives late. Your moment isn't hiding in the future. It's already unfolding.